That's what it says right there, live on YouTube.
We ready? We good? All right.
Very good.
Well, my name is Jody, and I first of all want to welcome everyone to this Pathway to Generational Wealth presentation. And Mr. Gantner, for those that don't know, is the co-founder of the Nexus ecosystem. He's an entrepreneur since the age of 9. He's an inventor. If you had children, you went through McDonald's, you probably got one of those 60 million toys that was in a Happy Meal. He's a successful businessman, a visionary, and probably one of the greatest problem solvers in the crypto area that I have been around. And so 6 years ago, Peter partnered with a group of elite people and some world-renowned programmers to create a pathway for individuals to enter into the crypto marketplace safely and securely. So Peter, with that, I want to thank you for taking the time to share why Nexus and why now. I give the floor to you.
Thank you so much for that. And you left the best part of my resume off. I've been married to the same wonderful woman for 27 years next month, actually. So, and have 3 fantastic kids. So, let's okay, so Nexus ecosystem, why did we start it? What is the idea behind it, and how do we plan on making this beneficial for everybody that's involved with it? So the one thing I've heard a lot in my lifetime in business is a rising tide raises all ships. It's been a constant thing when you get into business deals and seminars and all kinds of things, right? Is to try to create this idea and this concept where when everybody, everybody can benefit together. And then another huge term, which I've heard over and over and over again, and I'm sure all you guys have, is this idea of creating win-win situations, right? Where everybody that's involved has the opportunity to win. And when I got involved in crypto, so first time I got involved in crypto, 2014, got in with a company called Gaw Miner. Gaw Miner got shut down. I lost my money. I said, oh, this is crazy. I did not understand the blockchain, just cryptocurrency. Left the industry. 3 years later, I finally came back. And I believe that that was the biggest business mistake I've ever made in my life, was allowing that to stop me from digging in deeply and look into what cryptocurrency is really about. I've talked to a lot of people over the last few years, especially, and they seem to think that cryptocurrency is something that some, computer person, maybe in a basement or somewhere, just creates and magically creates a bunch of wealth off of nothing. It's not the case. The case is that cryptocurrency is the representation of the technology, which is the blockchain. The blockchain is something that is a decentralized network that is immutable. It's highest security. It's transparent, right? It's got the ability to hold accountable. There's a lot of technological things that are there. And if you look at, there's one lady who did a video and talked about the reason why the potential of the blockchain is what it is and why it will be the largest transfer of wealth in human history, is that all the problems that exist today on the internet, right? The problems with all the different things that are going on, all will be fixed and made better because of blockchain technology over the next few years, from identity theft to all kinds of issues, right? One of the big issues that blockchain is fixing is food distribution, right? So we've got these things where occasionally they'll go, oh, lettuce, you got to pull it all off the market. In the field of organics, in the field of frozen foods. These are just one area right there. Another area is mortgages, right? That the blockchain will fix. I don't know, and I didn't really know this until I got into blockchain, but you'll drive through town. Coming in from Phoenix to, from California to Phoenix, on the right-hand side, there was an old racetrack that stood abandoned for a long time. And part of the reason is that there was a dispute over who owned it, because of filings and different things that were not done. The blockchain will solve that problem, because transferred on a blockchain, you'll be able to see from person to person, and it's immutable. It's not somebody didn't make a mistake and not file a paper, or made a mistake and put the wrong information in, and it causes this type of confusion and things that go on. And there are actually buildings all over the United States, all over the world for that matter, that are run down, and you can't understand why somebody's not fixing it up, because it's maybe near a downtown area. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times there's a dispute in the paperwork and the trail on that. So that's another area. Another area where the blockchain has a lot of promise, and this is something that we're extremely excited about, is the improvement of over 1 billion people right now on this planet that are unbanked. And because they don't have a banking account, and there's no place to track land ownership or any of that stuff, they're unable to move out of poverty. They're stuck there. There's not much they can do about it. But by taking the blockchain technology and allowing them to have a place to be recognized that they exist, ownership of land, being able to be, KYC'd, and they'll be able to then borrow money and begin to lift themselves out of poverty. So I believe that's one of the bit more powerful things, is the blockchain over the next 8 to 10 years will lift over 1 billion people out of poverty. And when we say the biggest transfer of wealth in human history, that's one of the reasons why. Imagine having 1 billion people that are not in the modern economic society, bringing them into the economic society, allowing them to make 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times the money that they have available, and what that amount of money being brought in would do, the amount of wealth that it would create from there. And there are so many other ways where it's helping and beginning to move things up. DeFi is one of those areas, right? Decentralized finance. That's allowing to cut out the middlemen that I think most of us have not been fans of over the years, right? Where, you have Wall Street bankers that are making gazillions of dollars off of transactions and those type of things. So a lot of that stuff is changing right now because of the blockchain. So we got back into crypto in 2017, 18, the market came around and went into about a few year slide sideways. And then we really dug back in 2020 and started to see that finally the time had arrived. Up until that, the last big boom, the most used app, or DApp, decentralized application, was being used maybe 800 times a day, right? Today, we have applications. As a matter of fact, I'm on one of them, which is Brave. It's a browser that's built utilizing the blockchain technology. It's a DApp in that sense, has, I believe, 18 to 20 million users a day. So now all of a sudden the functionality comes in. I want to kind of almost equate it to the internet. When the internet first started in the early days, it was like nobody was going on there, right? It was dial-up Amazon when it was created. Maybe a small group of people used it, and the technology had to advance. So the promise of the internet took some time for the technology to really catch up. And then now it's created massive amounts of wealth. That's where we were at in 2017, 18. Today, we're at a point where the value in the blockchain is from the utilities that it creates in the lives of people. Banking. All the major banks are moving towards using blockchain technology to speed up transactions, to lower costs, to be competitive. Walmart, heavily into the blockchain. As a matter of fact, IBM has set up a huge division of people to handle blockchain technology, and they're very much moving forward with it. So the major corporations have already embraced it. And actually, if you look at Facebook, they changed their name from Facebook to Meta for the Meta, metaverse. And the reason for that, guys, is the existence of the blockchain. I don't believe a metaverse would have ever become what it is becoming right now until the blockchain became developed enough to make it happen. So it is going to be one of the driving technologies that is going to allow the metaverse. And when I look at it, how big will the metaverse be? I have my own estimations, but Citibank owns a company called GPS, and they analyze trends, right? That's what they do. And they wrote a report in the beginning, it came out the beginning of last month, and their estimation is that the blockchain or the metaverse will be an $8 to $13 trillion industry. And the driving technology behind that, VR, AR, Oculus glasses, those type of things. But the thing that's going to make it possible is the blockchain technology. Without it, it's not possible to build what's coming in there. So that's the value of blockchain. So we got involved in it. And to be honest with you guys, I found it was one of the most difficult spaces to be able to identify real projects, to identify teams that were real. And I'll explain to you in a second why. To be able to get involved in those projects at an early enough stage where I could have what has been now known as a Bitcoin moment, right? This idea of, the guy who got into Bitcoin in 2010 didn't really know what he was doing. He mines, a couple thousand Bitcoin, and today he's, worth, or he or she is worth 50 million, $100 million, right? There are people that are, 20 something years old, 30 years old, that just happened to find the technology and loved it. And today they're phenomenally wealthy. So that's a Bitcoin moment where you put in a very little amount and it turns into a huge sum of digital assets. So that's a key. And there's also the Ethereum moment, right? The person who 6 years ago heard about this thing, Ethereum and smart contracts, and they said, you know what, I'm going to put $1,000 in it. And it was 30 cents a token. And that $1,000 got them 3,000 of these Ethereum things, and they just held them. They didn't do anything with them. They just held them and held them and held them and held them. That today is worth about $10 million, right? That $3,000 6 years later. I just talked to a gentleman a short time ago, and I believe it was a year ago. They put $40,000 in a project, and he just told me it's worth $26 million today, right? These are the moments that are out there. The problem is they're a huge venture fund, and that's why they were exposed to the project. They had contacts and connections that allowed them to participate. When I looked at this, I said, look, most of us don't have a cousin or a brother or an uncle or an aunt that is going to start some giant project, and they let us let us be involved with it in the early stages. So I had come up with the concept and the thought process of that community as commerce about 6 years ago, and said, look, if a community of people came together for a common narrow purpose, can't be a broad purpose because then things go in different directions, but a common narrow purpose, that energy, that power, that community could drive success in whatever it was in, right? Didn't matter if it's a product, it doesn't matter if it's technology, doesn't matter if it's a movement of any sort, right? That they could do that. And so when I started to look at the crypto space and found out how difficult it was, so I would spend a lot of times, a few times somebody told me about a token, I aped in, lost money, aped in, lost money, started doing a ton of research. I'd spend hours, 6, 8, 10 hours, and I would still get caught up in these rug pulls. So I had saw a YouTube video of a gentleman that made $10 million in 6 months in the crypto space. He's got to have the secret. I listened to his recording, and he came on and he was talking about how he analyzes it. I'm taking notes like crazy, right? This is going to be the secret. And he gets to the point, this is somebody who's been very successful in the space. And he goes, oh yeah, by the way, I've been caught up in over 100 rug pulls in that period of time. A rug pull is a project that was never meant to be successful. It was only a project set up to get money. And I thought he analyzed this, and it was hard for him to avoid it. What was the solution of making that not happen? Well, one of the problems where in this space is, and I talked about being able to identify the people running the project, is that most projects, the majority of percentages, are done by anonymous teams. Now, to me, it was normal when we first got involved, but I really started to think about it. And the nature of it came from that Satoshi was anonymous. So if Satoshi was anonymous and Bitcoin was as successful as it is creating literally, I believe right now they say there's over 100,000 Bitcoin millionaires, right, today, at the price that it's at. If it was that successful and that was anonymous, then it's okay to be anonymous. But somewhere along the line, guys, that was before there was a successful one. So there weren't people out there trying to create them, right? Now that's a different story. Today, having an anonymous team it's silly, right? It doesn't make any sense, but it's done every single day, day after day, after day, after day, after day. And that's what we said, wait a minute, that's got to stop. So I myself tried to vet the teams that were there, but it just did not work that well, me trying to do it by myself. So I thought, well, why don't we build a system like a McDonald's, like any of these, where you put a system in place and that system creates a better chance of success. And then let's use a community of people that have a common purpose, financial benefits of everybody that's involved. Rising tide raises all ships, the win-win situation. Ultimately, let's assemble that together through what are called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, where the people that are involved in the project are the holders, the owners, the benefactors of that project, 100% in whole throughout the entire process. Bingo, we've got it. Now we start solving some of the issues that allow for, that allow for people to have a better chance of succeeding out in the marketplace. And so that's what we've done. So True Badger, which is our core one, that's really all we're going to cover today. We have other projects that we've put together. Those projects are only for the main purpose is to solve issues in the space that allows for the projects that True Badger is involved with to be more successful, to be more fair, and to be more balanced, and to have a much better chance of succeeding overall. So what is True Badger and what do we do? True Badger is a group of more than a dozen people that simply have understanding and knowledge of the blockchain space. Programmers, marketing, finance, all the different natures, and a lot of experience working with entrepreneurs and in business. So I've spent a lot of time working with entrepreneurs. And one thing I found after working with more than 40 plus entrepreneurs is that 90% of the success of a regular company is the team that's behind it, their dedication, their devotion, their drive, their ability to solve problems, their ability to shoestring and just move stuff forward. Only about 10% of it depends on the product, meaning you can take a crappy product with a great team and have a successful business. You can take the best product in the world and you can take a bad team and it's not going to go anywhere. I don't care if it's turning metal into gold, right? They'll screw it up somehow, right? Well, in the crypto space, the blockchain space, there's a third element in it. And customers with businesses have always been important. But the customers, you go basically use marketing to bring those customers on board, and they become in the blockchain space, they're decentralized networks, which means that they need to have people involved to build the strength and the power behind it. So the formula there is 40% of the success or so is the team that's behind it. So if that's the case, we absolutely need to know who the team members are, and we need to make sure that they know what they're doing when it comes to business. 10% of it or less is the technology, but we need to make sure that that technology has the potential, a high level of potential to do it. And it's got to produce value, meaning it's got to be able to be sold to somebody, create revenue for it to sustain a ongoing project. But the most important part of it is the community that gets behind it, that supports a token if it's there, NFTs if it's there, and they're not in it just to make a quick buck. They believe in it. They believe in the blockchain. They believe in crypto. They believe in creating this long-term ability, and they love the idea of a rising tide raises all ships and that win-win situation. So with that in mind, 50% of the formula is the community, 40% the team, and 10% is the technology. So here is the magic of True Badger. True Badger has a team of people that hits that 40% mark, dedicated, devoted, understand business inside and out, across the board, and believes in the blockchain 100%. We go out then knowing what we know is in any project that we bring through True Badger, we vet them very heavily and make sure that they are people that want to get a project going. They have a long-term approach on the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. They have the right technology. They have the right developers, or we provide developers. We make sure that that 40% there, that's of the part of the equation, is very strong. Okay. Then we have our technology people look at the technology side of it and make sure that it is technology that has the possibility of being developed, or if it's already been developed, that it's solid technology. So then we look at that. And then the concept and the idea is, instead of normally you put together the team and the technology, they will go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly millions of dollars, to build their own community, which gives what? It pulls the value away from developing the technology, getting a better, or increasing the team size, maybe spending that money for other purposes because they need to spend it to try to drive their community. So the idea is this: True Badger becomes the community, the initial community that gets behind it and supports these projects. Two things it does: it allows for the people that are in the community to have early access to projects without having that cousin, that uncle. You know, I mean, Steve Ballmer became phenomenally wealthy. He was Bill Gates's roommate, right? There's a couple of the people that were associated with Facebook. They knew each other in college. They said, hey, I'll become the publicist guy, right? And today, phenomenally wealthy, right? They knew the right person. I don't know about you, but I did not know Jeff Bezos in 1995. I did have $50,000 I could have put in Amazon. I don't know if I would have at that point, but I didn't know him to even have that opportunity. And of course, if you would have done that at that time, it would be worth billions of dollars today, right? That investment. So it basically makes it to where the community that we're building, you still do your own due diligence off of what we've done. You still decide whether you want to get involved in a project or not, but we're doing it as a community of people, which allows us to leverage that rising tide raises all ships. We leverage collective intelligence. We leverage collective funds, right? Finance. We leverage connective networking. It allows us and gives us the power then, once we find the right teams and the right technology, to give them a much better chance of succeeding than if they do it on their own. So that's True Badger. One of the things that we are is we're a consulting business, an accelerator, and an incubator program, right? So incubator and accelerator program. We find great teams. One of those great teams happens to be a company called Otherverse. They're not a startup team, proven 15 plus years in the metaverse space. With the patents they have and everything that they're doing, they are right now the front runners in the entire metaverse space, which is predicted to be that $8 to $13 trillion industry. And we are consultants to them. True Badger, Nexus ecosystem, they're consultants to their project. And we are receiving for doing this consulting work, tokens that they're getting ready to launch. They're doing an IDO. And once that token is launched, we'll receive a very nice sized block of those tokens. True Badger will hold those tokens in its treasury as a resource to then go out and bring in other projects and create more resources. Nexus will hold some of those tokens to do the same thing. So this is an ongoing process. Once this project is done, the new site will be launching for Otherverse tomorrow or Saturday at the latest. I'm hoping for tomorrow. And you will see right on the front page of it, it says powered by Unity, which is a software thing, Nexus ecosystem, and Oculus because of the VR side of things. So those are right there on the site. You'll be able to go there and see. We've also on our side, so we've got this great team, but we also have phenomenal technology partners. We partner with a company called muon.net. You can go look them up on it. It's muon.net. They are becoming one of the driving forces in cross-chain tokenization, making it the entire token space interoperable, meaning tokens can interact with each other flawlessly from chain to chain. And again, if for some of the stuff I'm saying, you're like, I don't know what he's talking about, it's okay. It's because it took me time to learn it all too, right? And then they're also doing it with NFTs, and they're also going to be doing it in the play to earn space. So this is all technology that they've developed, and we've partnered with them in order to make that happen. That's Nexus in it. So what does it cost to be involved in Nexus? Nothing really, right? There's no fees, there's no monthly memberships, there's none of that stuff. Simply look at the projects we're doing. If you decide to acquire some True Badger tokens, then you're part of the Nexus ecosystem, right? You can decide to acquire some Safufy tokens or Insights tokens, right? By simply becoming a token holder, holding the digital asset, you are now part of the DAOs, you're part of the Nexus ecosystem. And our goal is to, through this development, through finding these projects, through helping people be able to get involved as early as possible, right? The earlier you got involved in Bitcoin, the better off you are today. Ethereum, the earlier you got involved, the better you are off today. Bored Ape Yachts, the earlier you would have gotten involved in that project, the better you are off today. And so that is our goal, and that is the opportunity that's in front of you for the Nexus ecosystem. So Jody, I'm going to bring you back. Oh, one other last thing, and that is education. When I got into the crypto space, I was like, man, this was tough, right? It took me some time to figure it out. And I thought, I don't want other new people to have to go through that. So we built an entire onboarding system that uses videos, it uses screenshots, and it has the best walkthrough of how to do every aspect of getting into crypto, getting a digital wallet, getting, into a crypto asset that you could use then to acquire other tokens. But there's one step we took further, and I don't know of anybody else that's doing this at no cost. And that is, we said we need to have professional Zoomers, people that will get on Zoom like this, turn on their camera, and you can see them and work with them. And they would help walk you through those steps if you did not or were not able to use the video or the screenshots to get through the process. I find that most of the people that have a problem with it, including myself, I was worried I was going to make a mistake. And so I didn't trust my own. But once I got, with other people who helped me out down the road, right, and started to talk to other people that I knew that were in the space, and they say, oh, you need to do this or get this wallet or whatever it is, then that helped me get through it. And that's what we do, is we hold people's hands if necessary in order to get them into the space as safely and as knowledgeable as possible. Okay, Jody.
Well, thank you, Mr. Peter. And I would like to say to everyone that that listened to this is number one, thank you for taking that time. And number two, if you're a guest and someone invited you here, thank your friend for inviting you. And I would let you know that next week, Thursday, at the same time, this same channel, we've asked Peter to come back, and he will continue to educate and let people know what Nexus ecosystem is about. And with that, I would like to just say good evening. Everybody have a great rest of your week. And thank you, Mr. Peter and team. And we'll see you all next week.